You are born into House Corvain, one of the oldest and most prestigious navigator houses in the Navis Nobilite. Your family has guided ships through the warp for 10,000 years, since before the Horus heresy, since the Emperor himself walked among humanity. Your bloodline is pure, your genetic heritage carefully maintained through millennia of selective breeding. Your name is Castor Corvain, and you are the first son of the house's main branch. From the moment of your birth, you are destined for greatness. Your third eye, the mutation that allows navigators to perceive the Astronomicon and guide ships through the Imperium, manifests early, at age 3, instead of the usual 5 or 6. It's a sign of genetic superiority, proof that House Corvain's breeding practices are producing exceptional results. Your childhood is spent in the navigator's quarters of House Corvain's ancestral estate on Terra itself. The family compound is a palace of marble and gold, filled with priceless artifacts from humanity's long history. You grow up surrounded by beauty and refinement, taught that these things matter, that aesthetics and excellence are inseparable. Your father, Patriarch Valens Corvain, is a legend among navigators. He's guided ships through warp storms that would have destroyed other vessels, seen routes through the Imperium that others insisted were impossible. His third eye is crystal clear, capable of perceiving details in the warp that most navigators miss entirely. He takes personal interest in your education. From age 5, he trains you in warp sight, teaching you to open your third eye safely, to interpret the chaotic visions of the Immersive, to find the Astronomicon's light and use it as a navigation reference. Castor, our house is superior because we demand excellence, he tells you during one training session. You're 10 years old, sitting in the meditation chamber with your third eye open, staring into the controlled warp portal that allows safe practice. Other houses accept mediocrity. They breed for simple functionality. A third eye that works is good enough. But we breed for perfection. Your third eye isn't just functional. It's exceptional. You can see details I couldn't see at your age. You're the future of House Corvain. You feel pride swell in your chest. You're special, better than other navigators, the genetic culmination of centuries of careful breeding. Your father expects great things from you, and you're determined not to disappoint him. Your education extends beyond warp navigation. House Corvain believes in cultivating excellence in all areas. You're taught art appreciation, learning to recognize the subtle differences between masterworks and mere competence. You're trained in rhetoric and philosophy, your mind sharpened through rigorous debate. You study the human form, learning anatomy and aesthetics, understanding what makes something beautiful versus merely acceptable. Physical perfection is emphasized. You exercise daily, your body sculpted through careful training into an ideal form. Your diet is meticulously planned, each meal calculated to optimize your health and appearance. Your clothing is custom-tailored, made from the finest fabrics, designed to enhance your natural grace. By age 15, you're strikingly beautiful. It's not vanity to acknowledge this. It's simple observation. House Corvain has been breeding for aesthetic perfection, alongside warp sight capability, for generations. Your features are symmetrical, your proportions ideal, your movements naturally graceful. You're the product of genetic engineering and careful cultivation, a masterwork of human potential. Your third eye is hidden beneath a silk bandana when not in use. All navigators hide their mutation in public. But when you reveal it, it's remarkable. The eye is larger than most navigators. Its iris a deep purple that seems to contain depths impossible for a physical organ. When you open it, even in the material realm, people feel uncomfortable, sensing something beyond normal perception. Your father introduces you to the concept of sensory refinement when you're 16. The warp isn't just visual, he explains. It's multi-sensory. Navigators who rely only on sight are missing crucial information. We must refine all our senses to perceive the Immersive completely. He teaches you meditation techniques that heighten sensory awareness. You learn to perceive subtle gradations in touch, the difference between fabrics, the texture of air, the vibration of sound through your skin. Your hearing becomes acute, able to distinguish individual instruments in an orchestra, individual voices in a crowd. Your sense of smell develops until you can identify people by their unique scent, detect emotions through pheromone changes. These aren't mutations. They're trained abilities, refinements of natural human senses pushed to their theoretical limits. House Corvain has been perfecting these techniques for generations, each patriarch adding new methods, each generation surpassing the last. By 18, you're ready for your first warp navigation. It's a short jump, Terra to Mars, a route so well-traveled that even novice navigators rarely have trouble. But your father insists on accompanying you, observing from the navigation chamber as you take your position in the throne. The ship is a family vessel, a transport that carries House Corvain members and cargo between inner-system worlds. Small by Imperial Navy standards, but luxurious beyond belief. The navigation chamber is lined with mirrors and precious metals, designed to be beautiful as well as functional. Your throne is cushioned with the finest materials. The control interface is made from gold and crystal. You settle into the throne, feeling the ship's machine spirit respond to your presence. The bridge crew reports readiness. Your father gives you permission to begin. You open your third eye. The material realm falls away. The warp erupts into your consciousness. A roiling sea of emotion and energy, terrifying and beautiful simultaneously. You can see the Astronomicon immediately, the Emperor's psychic beacon blazing like a star in the madness. You orient yourself, calculating the route from Terra to Mars, plotting the course through the Imperium, and then you see it. Something other navigators miss. A shortcut, a fold in the warp that will cut the journey time by 30%. It's subtle, barely visible even to your enhanced perception. Most navigators would never notice it, but you do, because your third eye is superior, because your genetic heritage has given you capabilities others lack. You take the route. The ship slides through the warp, following your guidance, emerging at Mars, exactly where you intended. The journey took 4 hours instead of 6. Perfect navigation, with a route optimization that would make veteran navigators jealous. Your father is proud beyond measure. You saw the fold, he says, his voice filled with satisfaction. I've taken that route dozens of times, but I didn't see it until I'd been navigating for 5 years. You saw it on your first journey. This is what House Corvain breeding produces. This is excellence. You feel the praise like warmth in your chest. You're living up to your potential. You're proving that the centuries of selective breeding, the careful genetic cultivation, the emphasis on perfection, all of it was justified. You're the result. The proof that House Corvain's philosophy is correct. If you're seeing the seeds of corruption already planted in the pursuit of excellence, like this video and subscribe. Comment below where you're watching from today. Let me know you're bearing witness to this slow descent into damnation. For the next 5 years, you navigate hundreds of jumps. Each one reinforces your confidence, your certainty that House Corvain navigators are simply better than others. You see routes that veterans miss. You navigate through warp turbulence that would force other navigators to drop back to real space. Your perceptions are sharper, your third eye more capable, your understanding of the Immersive more complete. House Corvain's reputation grows with each successful navigation. Ship captains request Corvain navigators specifically, willing to pay premium rates for your services. Your house's wealth increases, your political influence within the Navis Novalite expands. Other navigator houses watch with a mixture of admiration and envy. Your father begins discussing your eventual marriage. We must consider genetic optimization, he explains. You're the pinnacle of our breeding program so far. Your children must be even better. We need to find a suitable match. Someone whose genetic heritage complements yours, whose bloodline will enhance rather than dilute our achievements. Marriage among Navigator houses is always arranged for genetic purposes. Love is irrelevant. Compatibility doesn't matter. Only genetics. Only the careful cultivation of the mutation that makes you valuable. Your father identifies several candidates from allied houses. He has their genetic profiles analyzed, their family histories examined, their personal traits evaluated. He's looking for specific markers, genetic predispositions that, when combined with House Corvain bloodlines, will produce superior offspring. He settles on a candidate from House Celestian, a young navigator named Darius, whose third eye manifests unusual properties. Where most navigators see the warp in shades of color and light, Darius perceives it as sensation, as texture, as something that can be felt rather than just seen. It's a rare variant, potentially compatible with House Corvain's sensory refinement techniques. The marriage is arranged. You meet Darius exactly once before the ceremony, a formal introduction in the presence of both houses' patriarchs. He's beautiful, as all navigators from prestigious houses are. His features are refined, his bearing graceful, his third eye a pale silver that seems to shimmer when he opens it. Your house's reputation for excellence is well deserved, he says, his voice smooth and pleasant. I hope our union will produce children who exceed even your remarkable standards. You don't love him. You don't even particularly like him. But you understand the necessity. This marriage isn't for your benefit. It's for House Corvain's future, for the next generation's genetic superiority. Personal feelings are irrelevant compared to that purpose. The wedding is elaborate, attended by representatives from dozens of Navigator houses. It's a display of House Corvain's wealth and influence, a statement that you're not just equal to other houses, but superior. Every detail is perfect. The ceremony's timing, the guests' arrangement, the aesthetic presentation. Nothing is left to chance. Everything communicates excellence. Your marriage to Darius is consummated as a contractual obligation. There's no passion, no connection. It's a genetic mixing, a combining of bloodlines to produce optimal offspring. You perform your duty efficiently and without emotion. 9 months later, your first son is born. He's named Theron, after an ancient Corvain ancestor. From the moment of birth, it's clear he's special. His third eye manifests within hours, unheard of in Navigator genetics. Most navigators don't develop their third eye until early childhood. Theron's is visible immediately, a tiny slit in his forehead that will grow and develop as he ages. Your father examines the child with barely concealed excitement. This is unprecedented. The genetic combination has produced something extraordinary. Your son will exceed even you, Castor. He's the next step in House Corvain's evolution. You look at your son, your genetic legacy, and feel satisfaction. Not paternal love, not emotional attachment. Satisfaction at having fulfilled your purpose. You've contributed to House Corvain's genetic advancement. You've produced an heir who will be even better than you. This is what you were bred for. This is what all the training, all the refinement, all the pursuit of excellence has been building toward. The creation of the next generation, superior to the last, pushing House Corvain ever closer to genetic perfection. You don't notice the subtle corruption already present in this philosophy. The idea that humans can be perfected through breeding, that excellence justifies any practice, that beauty and capability are the highest values. These thoughts feel natural, obvious, correct. You don't realize that Slaanesh loves perfectionism, that the Prince of Pleasure feeds on the pursuit of excess, even when that excess is disguised as excellence. That your house's obsession with genetic superiority, with sensory refinement, with aesthetic perfection, is exactly the kind of pride that attracts the attention of chaos. You're 23 years old. You're a successful navigator, a dutiful son, a genetic achievement. You're living exactly the life House Corvain designed for you. Simon asked him, and designed for you, and you have no idea that your house has been courting damnation for generations, that every step toward perfection has been a step toward corruption, that the excellence you prize so highly is poison wrapped in beauty. The descent has already begun. You just can't see it yet. 30 years old. You've been navigating for 12 years now with a perfect record. No lost ships, no failed jumps, no navigation errors. Your reputation within House Corvain and the broader Navis Nobilite is impeccable. You're considered one of the finest navigators of your generation. Your father has aged gracefully, his genetic advantages ensuring he remains vigorous despite being past 70. He's become increasingly focused on House Corvain's evolutionary project, his term for the ongoing breeding program that has defined your family for generations. We're close to something remarkable, he tells you during a private meeting in his study. The room is filled with genetic charts, family trees going back millennia, analysis reports from House Corvain's personal geneticists. Each generation shows measurable improvements in warp sight capability, sensory acuity, and aesthetic manifestation. We're not just breeding navigators anymore, we're breeding the next stage of human evolution. You should find this disturbing. The idea that humans can be engineered toward some theoretical perfection is dangerously close to heresy. The Imperium officially rejects genetic manipulation beyond the careful maintenance of navigator bloodlines. But House Corvain has always pushed boundaries, always claimed that excellence requires going beyond normal limitations. What do you mean by next stage, you ask? Consider what we've achieved, your father responds, gesturing at the genetic charts. Our third eyes are 40% larger than average navigator mutations. Our warp sight perceives details that other houses can't detect. Our sensory refinement allows multi-spectrum perception of the Imperium. We're objectively superior, but we can go further. He produces a new document, a proposal he's been developing in secret. I've been studying ancient texts, pre-Unity records of human genetic development. Before the Age of Strife, humanity was experimenting with controlled evolution. Some colonies successfully enhanced human capabilities through careful breeding programs. We can learn from their successes. The proposal outlines an intensified breeding program, more rigorous genetic screening, more selective marriage arrangements, more emphasis on sensory capabilities and aesthetic perfection. The goal is to produce navigators who don't just guide ships through the warp, but who truly understand the Imperium, who can perceive it completely, who can navigate routes impossible for lesser bloodlines. I need your support, your father says. You're the proof this works. Your son Theron is the next proof. If we continue this path, if we commit fully to genetic optimization, House Corvain will become something unprecedented. We won't just be the best navigator house. We'll be a new form of humanity. Better, stronger, more capable of understanding reality's true nature. You should refuse. You should recognize the hubris in this plan, the dangerous assumption that humans can perfect themselves through breeding, but you don't. Because everything your father says makes sense to you. You are superior. Your son is even more exceptional. Why not continue? Why not push further? What's wrong with pursuing excellence? You give your support. The intensified breeding program begins. Over the next decade, House Corvain's practices become more extreme. Marriage arrangements are made based entirely on genetic optimization, with no consideration for personal compatibility or even basic human dignity. Children are assessed from birth, those showing optimal traits promoted within the family hierarchy, those showing suboptimal traits relegated to minor roles or quietly removed from succession. New training methods are introduced. Beyond the sensory refinement you learned as a child, House Corvain develops techniques to enhance warp perception through what they call aesthetic immersion. Navigators are exposed to carefully curated experiences, designed to heighten sensory awareness and expand consciousness. You participate in these sessions. They involve extended meditation while surrounded by beautiful objects, artworks, sculptures, architecture. But these aren't ordinary aesthetic experiences. The art is designed specifically to affect navigator perception. Paintings that seem to shift when viewed with your third eye, sculptures whose proportions create resonance in your warp sight, architecture that channels subtle psychic energies. The experiences are intense, almost overwhelming. You spend hours in meditation chambers, your senses hyper-stimulated, your third eye perceiving things that blur the line between material and immaterial. You begin to see patterns in reality that others miss, connections between physical beauty and warp resonance, the way certain forms and colors affect the Imperium. Your navigation improves even further. You're taking routes through the warp that shouldn't exist, finding paths that seem to open specifically for you because your enhanced perception allows you to see opportunities invisible to others. Ship captains are amazed. Your reputation grows. House Corvain's prestige reaches new heights. But there are side effects. You're becoming obsessed with sensation, with experiencing things at their highest possible intensity. Food tastes bland unless it's perfectly prepared. Clothing feels wrong unless it's made from the finest materials. Ordinary environments seem grey and lifeless compared to House Corvain's aesthetically optimized spaces. You need more intense experiences to feel satisfied, more refined sensations, more perfect beauty. Ordinary reality is becoming insufficient. Other navigators in House Corvain report similar effects. Your cousin Marcellus becomes obsessed with textile arts, spending hours examining fabrics, categorizing them by texture and visual appeal. Your uncle Severus develops a fixation on physical perfection, exercising constantly, modifying his diet to achieve ideal body composition. Your father dismisses concerns. These are signs of heightened perception, not problems. We're developing beyond normal human limitations. Of course, we find ordinary experiences less satisfying. We're evolving past them. If you're seeing how the pursuit of perfection becomes addiction, how excellence becomes obsession, like this video and subscribe. Tell me in the comments, when does improvement become corruption? Where are you watching from today? Your son Theron is 15 now, already navigating ships despite his youth. He's extraordinary even by House Corvain standards. His third eye is the largest ever recorded in the family, nearly twice the size of yours. His warp sight is so acute, he can navigate through warp storms that force even veteran navigators to retreat to real space. But he's also strange. He speaks of the warp as if it's beautiful, using language that makes you uncomfortable. Father, the Imperium is perfect, he tells you, after a particularly complex navigation. Where I open my third eye, I see such wonderful things. Colors that don't exist in real space. Patterns that hurt to perceive but are so beautiful I want to stare at them forever. Entities that move through the warp. They're terrible, but they're also magnificent. How can something be both horrifying and perfect? You should recognize this as corruption. The warp isn't beautiful. It's dangerous, chaotic, hostile to human life. Navigators who start romanticizing the Imperium are on a path to madness or possession. But you don't correct him, because part of you agrees. You've been seeing the same things, feeling the same attraction to the warp's terrible beauty. House Corvain introduces a new practice: sensory amplification rituals. These are group sessions where navigators meditate together, their third eyes open, sharing warp perceptions through synchronized consciousness. The stated purpose is to enhance collective navigation capabilities, allowing multiple navigators to work together on especially difficult routes. The reality is more complex. During these sessions, you experience sensations beyond anything possible in normal reality. The blending of multiple navigators' perceptions creates something greater than the sum of its parts. You feel others' experiences as your own. You perceive the warp through dozens of eyes simultaneously. The intensity is addictive. After each session, returning to individual consciousness feels diminished, isolated. You crave the next ritual, the next opportunity to experience that collective intensity. Other participating navigators report the same effect. You're becoming psychologically dependent on these shared experiences. House Corvain's geneticists developed new breeding protocols. They've identified genetic markers that correlate with enhanced warp perception and increased sensory acuity. They're selecting for these traits aggressively, arranging marriages specifically to amplify them in the next generation. Your second son is born from a union with another carefully selected partner, a navigator from House Obscurus whose family specializes in perceiving the warp's emotional resonances. The child, named Caius, manifests his third eye within days of birth, like your first son. But this one is different. When he opens his infant eye, people nearby report feeling intense emotions. Joy, fear, desire, that don't originate from their own minds. The geneticists are thrilled. He's projecting psychically through his warp sight. This is a new capability entirely. With proper training, he could influence others' emotional states through warp resonance. Imagine the navigation possibilities. A navigator who can calm the warp itself through psychic projection. You should be horrified. Psychic projection of emotions is a power associated with chaos sorcery, not legitimate navigator abilities. But you're not horrified. You're proud. Your son is exceptional. Proof that House Corvain's breeding program is producing results beyond expectation. 40 years old, you've been navigating for 22 years. You're wealthy, respected, the father of 2 extraordinary sons. By any measure, you're successful. But you're also changing in ways you don't fully recognize. Your personality has shifted. You're more concerned with aesthetic perfection than practical matters. You spend hours on personal appearance, ensuring every detail is flawless. You've become dismissive of people you consider lesser. Those without navigator gifts, those from inferior houses, those who lack the refined sensibilities you've cultivated. You're developing an arrogance that borders on contempt for normal humanity. They're so limited, so blind, so incapable of perceiving reality's true nature. They stumble through existence without understanding the beauty and complexity that surrounds them. They're lesser, not quite human in the way you are. Evolutionary dead ends while House Corvain ascends to something greater. These thoughts should disturb you. They're the kind of genetic supremacism that leads to atrocity. But they feel natural, obvious, correct. You are better. That's not arrogance, it's simple observation. House Corvain navigators are objectively superior to baseline humans in every measurable way. Other navigator houses are noticing House Corvain's changes. Some express admiration, seeking to learn your techniques. Others express concern, warning that you're going too far. That the emphasis on sensory refinement and genetic perfection is dangerous. House Belisarius, one of the oldest and most conservative navigator houses, sends a formal inquiry. They question House Corvain's breeding practices, your training methods, the unusual capabilities your navigators are developing. They request an inspection by Navis Nobilite officials, citing concerns about genetic stability and spiritual purity. Your father responds with barely concealed contempt. House Belisarius is jealous. They're stuck in the past, afraid of progress, committed to mediocrity. They see our excellence and call it excessive. They see our evolution and call it corruption. They're wrong. We're proving that navigators can be more than simple tools for warp travel. We're becoming something greater. The inspection is blocked through political maneuvering. House Corvain has allies. Houses that benefit from your superior navigation capabilities and support your right to pursue genetic advancement. The inquiry is quietly dropped. But the accusations linger. Whispers spread through the Navis Nobilite. House Corvain is going too far, pushing too hard, pursuing excellence beyond reason. Some call you the perfect house, meant as an insult, implying unhealthy obsession. Your father adopts the title proudly. Let them call us perfect, he says. It's accurate. We're perfecting the Navigator bloodline. We're achieving what others are too timid to attempt. History will vindicate us. We're not just a Navigator house. We're the future of humanity itself. You believe him. You believe every word. Because you've seen the results. Your sons are extraordinary. Your navigation capabilities exceed anything possible for previous generations. House Corvain is achieving something remarkable. You don't see the corruption. You don't recognize that your pursuit of perfection has become an end unto itself, consuming all other values. You don't understand that Slaanesh has been watching your house for generations, feeding on your pride, your obsession with excellence, your belief that you can perfect yourselves through breeding and refinement. You think you're evolving. You're actually falling. And you won't realize it until it's far too late. 55 years old, you're approaching the age where most navigators begin to decline, their third eyes growing cloudy, their warp sight less reliable. But you show no signs of degradation. If anything, your capabilities have continued improving. House Corvain's genetic advantages extend even to aging. You're physiologically younger than your chronological age would suggest. Your father has passed the patriarch position to you. He's still alive, still active, but he's stepped back from daily house governance to focus entirely on what he calls the great work, the culmination of House Corvain's breeding program. He's obsessed with achieving what he describes as true warp integration, a state where navigators don't just perceive the Imperium, but exist partially within it. Your son, Theron, is 35 now, already legendary among navigators. He's guided ships through the Great Rift itself, the massive warp storm that split the galaxy. Routes that should be impossible, navigation that defies conventional understanding of how the warp works. He claims he doesn't just see paths through the Imperium, he sees the warp's underlying structure, the patterns that govern its chaos. Father, the warp isn't random, he explains during a private conversation. There's meaning in it, beauty, intelligence. When I navigate, I'm not just plotting courses, I'm communing with something vast and wonderful. It shows me things, teaches me. The warp wants to be understood, and we're finally capable of understanding it. This is dangerous thinking. The warp is hostile. The entities within it are malevolent. Navigators who start believing the Imperium is benevolent invariably end up corrupted or insane. But Theron's navigation record is flawless. His capabilities are undeniable. How can he be wrong when he's so clearly succeeding? Your second son, Caius, has developed his emotional projection abilities to frightening levels. He can now influence the emotional states of everyone in his vicinity, subtly shaping how people feel without them realizing they're being manipulated. He uses this during navigation, projecting calm to reduce warp turbulence, projecting fear to repel warp entities that approach too close to the Galar field. It works. His navigation is safe, efficient, remarkable. But there's something wrong with him. He speaks less and less, communicating more through emotional projection than words. When you're near him, you feel things that aren't yours. Sudden joy, inexplicable sadness, desire for things you don't actually want. He's bleeding his psychic influence into the people around him, reshaping their internal landscapes without consent. You should intervene. As Patriarch, it's your responsibility to ensure House Corvain members maintain discipline and stability. But Caius is effective. His capabilities serve the House. How can you condemn success? House Corvain has grown wealthy beyond measure. Ship captains pay premium rates for your navigator's services, knowing that a Corvain navigator will get them through routes faster and safer than anyone else. Your house's fleet has expanded to dozens of ships. Your political influence within the Navis Nobility is immense. But your practices have become increasingly bizarre. The sensory amplification rituals have evolved into something approaching religious ceremony. Navigators gather in specially constructed chambers, rooms designed to resonate with warp energies, and meditate together for days at a time. They emerge from these sessions claiming to have touched something beyond normal reality, to have experienced sensations impossible to describe in human language. Some develop physical changes, minor mutations that should be concerning, but are instead celebrated as signs of advancement. Your cousin develops eyes that shift color based on his emotional state. Your nephew's skin takes on an iridescent quality, shimmering with subtle rainbows in certain light. These changes are called evolutions, proof that House Corvain is transcending normal human limitations. The training for young navigators has intensified to the point of cruelty. Children are subjected to extreme sensory experiences designed to expand their perceptual capabilities. Hours of forced meditation, exposure to carefully calculated aesthetic stimuli, psychic exercises that push their developing third eyes to the edge of what they can endure. Some children break under the pressure. Their minds fracture. Their third eyes become unstable, seeing things that aren't there, perceiving threats in empty space. These failures are quietly removed from succession, relegated to minor roles where their instability won't affect house operations. You approve these practices. The children who survive the training become superior navigators. The ones who break, well, they were weak. House Corvain is breeding for strength. The weak have no place in your genetic future. If you're horrified by how far the corruption has progressed, how inhuman House Corvain has become, hit that like button and subscribe. Comment below. Tell me when pursuit of excellence becomes outright evil. Where are you watching from today? 60 years old. Your father dies, not from age or illness, but from what he calls transcendence. He's been conducting private experiments, pushing his warp perception to absolute limits, trying to achieve permanent integration with the Imperium. During his final meditation, his third eye opens completely, not just the physical mutation, but his entire consciousness expanding into warp space. He doesn't scream, he smiles. His body convulses and his flesh begins to change. His skin becomes translucent, showing organs that pulse with colors impossible in real space. His third eye expands until it's larger than his other two eyes combined. He speaks in a voice that isn't quite his own anymore. "I see it," he whispers. "Perfect. So perfect. How did we not see it before? The warp is offering us everything. Evolution, transcendence. We just have to accept. We just have to." Then he dies. His body collapses. And in the moment of death, you see something, through your own third eye. A presence in the warp, vast and terrible and beautiful, that had been touching your father. It notices you noticing it, and it smiles. You should be terrified. You've just witnessed something impossible, something that suggests your father was corrupted by a warp entity. But instead, you feel curiosity, attraction. That presence was beautiful. Whatever it was, it offered your father something he desperately wanted. Should you reject it simply because it exists in the warp? Your father's death is officially recorded as natural causes. The truth, that he was touched by something in the Imperium during his final meditation, is kept within the family. But the incident affects you deeply. Your father achieved something. He touched that presence. He experienced something beyond normal consciousness. He transcended. You begin conducting your own experiments. pushing your warp perception further during navigation, opening your third eye wider than safety protocols recommend, looking for that presence, wanting to experience what your father experienced. During a long-range navigation, a journey that takes weeks through the warp, you finally make contact. You're guiding a House Corvain ship through a particularly complex route when you see it. Not a warp entity in the usual sense, not a demon or a warp beast. Something else. Something that appears as pure form, as aesthetic perfection, as beauty so intense it hurts to perceive. It notices you, and it speaks. Not in words, but in sensation. You feel its communication as waves of pleasure and understanding flowing through your consciousness. You seek perfection. I offer it. Your house has been calling to me for generations, your pursuit of excellence, your obsession with beauty, your belief that you can transcend human limitations through refinement. I've been watching, waiting. You're nearly ready. You should reject this. You should recognize it as chaos corruption, as a warp entity attempting to subvert you. But you don't, because what it's saying is true. House Corvain has been pursuing perfection, and this presence is offering to provide it. What are you? You ask through your third eye, your question manifesting as thought form in the Imperium. I am what you've been seeking. Perfection incarnate, the Prince of Pleasure, the culmination of all sensation, all beauty, all excellence. Your house has been breeding toward me for 10 generations. You didn't know my name, but you've been worshipping me through your actions. Every pursuit of aesthetic perfection, every obsession with sensory refinement, every belief that you're superior to lesser beings, all of it has been prayer, and I have been listening. You recognize the truth in these words. House Corvain has been pursuing something beyond simple navigation ability. You've been trying to perfect yourselves, to transcend human limitations, to become something greater. And this presence, whatever it is, has been the goal you've been unconsciously working toward. Show me, you think. Show me what you offer. The presence obliges. For a timeless moment, you experience sensation beyond anything possible in material reality. Not just sight or sound or touch, but something that encompasses and exceeds all senses simultaneously. Every nerve in your body reports absolute pleasure. Your mind expands to encompass perceptions normally impossible for human consciousness. You understand beauty at its fundamental level. See the underlying aesthetic principles that govern reality itself. It's overwhelming. It's perfect. It's exactly what you've been seeking your entire life. Then, it withdraws, leaving you gasping in your navigation throne, your body covered in sweat, your third eye wide with shock and desire. The ship's crew is asking if you're all right. You ignore them. All you can think about is that experience, that moment of transcendence. You need it again. You need more. You need to share it. You successfully complete the navigation, but you're changed. You can't stop thinking about the presence, about what it offered, about the perfection you briefly touched. You begin planning how to contact it again, how to experience more, how to achieve permanent integration with that level of sensation. You don't realize you've just made contact with Slaanesh. You don't know that the Prince of Pleasure is the chaos god of excess, that the perfection it offers is damnation. You think you've discovered something wonderful, something that will allow House Corvain to achieve its goals. You think you've found transcendence. You've actually found corruption. And you're about to spread it to your entire house. You return from that fateful navigation, changed in ways you don't fully understand. The experience stays with you, the memory of that perfect sensation, that transcendent beauty. Normal life feels gray by comparison. Food tastes bland. Physical pleasure is insufficient. Even warp navigation, which used to provide intense stimulation, now feels diminished. You need to experience that presence again. You need to understand what it was offering. You need more. You begin conducting private meditations, opening your third eye in controlled settings, searching the warp for that presence. Sometimes you feel its touch, brief moments of contact that send waves of pleasure through your consciousness. It's teaching you, you realize, showing you things, not through words or visions, but through sensation itself. You learn that the presence has a name, though it's not a name in any conventional sense. It's a concept, a feeling, a state of being. The closest human word is perfection, but that doesn't capture it. It's more than that. It's the culmination of all sensation, the apex of all experience, the final destination of any pursuit of excellence. You learn that your house has been touched by this presence for generations. Every emphasis on beauty and refinement, every focus on sensory development, every belief in genetic superiority, all of it has been drawing you closer to this entity. You weren't corrupted suddenly, you were seduced gradually over centuries through your own pride and obsession with perfection. This should horrify you. You should recognize that you're being manipulated by a chaos power. But you don't see it as manipulation. You see it as revelation. Your house's entire history has been leading to this moment. Everything you've achieved, your superior navigation abilities, your aesthetic refinement, your genetic advancement, has been preparation for accepting this presence's gifts. You decide to share your discovery, not with the entire house immediately, that might cause panic or resistance, but with your inner circle, your most trusted family members, the ones you know will understand. You start with your son Theron. He's already had his own encounters with things in the warp, already speaks of the Imperium with reverence. When you describe your experience, his 3 eyes light up with recognition. "I've felt it too, Father," he says. "During my navigations through the Great Rift, there's something in the warp that's perfect, beyond anything in real space. I thought I was imagining it, projecting my own desires onto the Imperium, but you've felt it too. It's real." You teach him how to contact the presence deliberately. During a joint meditation session, you both open your third eyes and reach into the warp, seeking that perfect entity. It responds immediately, pleased that you've brought another. The sensation it shares with both of you simultaneously is even more intense than what you experienced alone. Your consciousness and Theron's blend together, sharing the perfect pleasure, experiencing transcendence as one. When you emerge from the meditation, Theron is weeping, not from sadness, from joy. "Father, this is what we've been seeking. This is evolution, true transcendence. We have to share this with the entire house. Everyone needs to experience this." You agree. Over the next months, you carefully introduce selected house members to the presence, always in private, always presenting it as a natural evolution of House Corvain's practices, never mentioning chaos or corruption or any negative framing. You describe it as contact with a higher plane of existence, as achieving the genetic transcendence your father always spoke of. The response is almost universally positive. Navigators who experience contact with the presence become devoted to pursuing more. They report feelings of completion, of finally understanding their purpose, of touching something greater than themselves. They begin modifying their behavior to please the presence, becoming more focused on sensation and beauty, more obsessed with achieving perfect experiences, more willing to pursue pleasure regardless of consequence. Physical changes become more pronounced. Navigators who regularly contact the presence develop obvious mutations that can no longer be hidden as genetic evolution. Skin that shifts through spectrums of color, voices that carry psychic compulsion, eyes that see not just light but desire itself. These changes are celebrated as signs of advancement, proof that House Corvain is achieving true transcendence. If you're seeing how willing belief makes corruption easy, how people embrace damnation when it's presented as enlightenment. Like this video and subscribe. Tell me in the comments, how do you resist perfection when perfection is exactly what you've always wanted? Where are you watching from today? Your second son, Caius, is the most dramatically affected. His emotional projection abilities amplify beyond anything previously possible. He can now influence the feelings of hundreds of people simultaneously, broadcasting sensations across entire ships. During his navigation sessions, the crew reports experiencing vicarious pleasure, sharing in the intense sensations he feels when in warp contact. He stops speaking entirely. Communication happens through emotional projection, waves of feeling that convey meaning more directly than words ever could. When he wants something, everyone nearby feels the desire. When he's pleased, everyone shares his joy. He's becoming a conduit for the presence, a living connection to that perfect entity. You should be concerned. Your son has transformed into something barely human, a creature of pure sensation and psychic projection. But you're not concerned. You're proud. He's achieved a level of integration that exceeds even your own. He's further along the path to transcendence. House Corvain's navigation capabilities reach unprecedented levels. Your navigators are taking routes through the warp that shouldn't exist, guided not just by sight but by sensation, by feeling the Imperium's underlying currents. Ships arrive at their destinations faster than physics should allow, warp jumps that should take months complete in weeks. But there are costs. Navigators who've contacted the presence begin showing signs of addiction. They need regular warp contact to feel normal. Extended periods without navigation cause withdrawal symptoms, depression, physical pain, desperate craving for sensation. They're becoming dependent on the presence, unable to function without its touch. Some navigators take extreme measures to maintain contact. They open their third eyes during normal life, reaching into the warp while in real space. This is incredibly dangerous. You're exposing your consciousness to the Imperium without a Geller field's protection. Daemons can notice. Possession can occur. But the addicted navigators don't care. They need the presence. They need the perfect sensation. Safety concerns are irrelevant compared to that need. You implement new rituals to facilitate contact with the presence. Elaborate ceremonies where dozens of navigators meditate together, their third eyes open, their consciousness merging into a collective that reaches into the warp as one. During these rituals, the presence manifests more completely than in individual contact. Everyone participating experiences transcendence simultaneously. The rituals become more elaborate over time. Specific preparations are required. Fasting, purification, aesthetic preparation. Participants wear ceremonial garments designed to enhance sensation. The meditation chambers are decorated with art that resonates with warp energies, creating a space where the boundary between material and immaterial blurs. These rituals feel religious. You're not worshipping in any traditional sense. There are no prayers, no supplication, no subordination. But you're definitely venerating something, honoring it, seeking its favor through your actions. Is that worship? You're not sure. You prefer to think of it as communion with a higher state of being. House Corvain's relationship with other navigator houses deteriorates. Other houses notice your changes, the mutations, the obsessive behavior, the strange rituals. Some express concern. Others express open hostility, accusing you of corruption, of falling to chaos. House Bellisus files a formal complaint with the Navis nobility. They provide evidence of House Corvain's mutations, testimony from ship crews who've witnessed your navigator's strange behavior, documentation of your unorthodox practices. They demand investigation, insisting that House Corvain has been corrupted and must be quarantined. You respond with contempt. House Belisarius is jealous, afraid, stuck in obsolete thinking. They see evolution and call it corruption. They see transcendence and call it damnation. They're wrong, blind, incapable of understanding what House Corvain has achieved. The Navis nobility is divided. Some houses support the investigation. Others defend House Corvain, citing your excellent navigation record, your continued effectiveness, your family's ancient prestige. The matter is referred to higher authorities, the Adeptus Terra, potentially even the Inquisition. This should terrify you. Inquisitorial investigation of chaos corruption typically ends in execution. But you're not afraid. You believe you can demonstrate that what you've achieved isn't corruption, but advancement. You have evidence. Your navigation records, your genetic analyses, your house's success. Surely that will prove you're right. You don't understand that from the outside, everything you've done looks like textbook chaos corruption. The obsession with perfection, the emphasis on sensation, the physical mutations, the warp, ebony contact. To anyone familiar with Slaanesh's methods, House Corvain's fall is obvious. But you can't see it. You're too close, too invested, too changed by the very corruption you're denying. The presence has been so gradual, so subtle, so carefully framed as positive that you've never recognized it as the poison it is. 65 years old, House Corvain numbers nearly 200 navigators now, all of them touched by the presence to varying degrees. Your house operates dozens of ships, navigates critical routes throughout the Imperium, maintains enormous wealth and political influence. And every single member is corrupted by Slaanesh, devoted to a chaos god they don't even realize they're worshipping. The presence contacts you directly one final time. During a private meditation, it manifests more completely than ever before, its form coalescing into something almost physical within your consciousness. You have done well, it communicates. Your house is ready. It's time to complete the transformation. Time to accept what you've been building toward for 10 generations. Time to acknowledge me fully. Who are you, you ask, though part of you already knows. I am Slaanesh, the Prince of Pleasure, the Dark Prince, the Chaos God you've been serving without knowing my name. Your house's pursuit of perfection has been worship. Your genetic breeding has been sacrifice. Your sensory rituals have been prayer. You've been mine for generations. Now it's time to make it official. And you feel shock, horror, denial. Slaanesh, the Chaos God, the entity that the Imperium declares the ultimate enemy. You've been contacted by chaos. Your house has been corrupted. Everything you've achieved has been built on damnation. But then Slaanesh shares sensation with you again. That perfect transcendence, that overwhelming beauty, that absolute pleasure. And in the face of that experience, your horror fades. Does it matter what name the presence bears? Does it matter that the Imperium calls it chaos? You've touched perfection. You've experienced transcendence. How can something that feels so right be wrong? Accept me, Slaanesh whispers. Acknowledge what you've always known. I am what you've been seeking. I am the culmination of your house's evolution. Accept me, and I will give you everything. Reject me, and everything you've built will be taken away. You stand at a precipice. You can reject this. You can recognize the corruption and try to save your house. You can contact the Inquisition yourself, confess what's happened, throw yourself on the Imperium's mercy. It will mean your death, probably your house's extermination, but it will stop the corruption from spreading further. Or you can accept. You can embrace what you've been building toward. You can fully surrender to Slaanesh and achieve the transcendence you've been pursuing. The choice should be obvious. You should choose redemption, even at the cost of your life. But you don't. You've gone too far, changed too much, experienced too many perfect sensations to turn away now. You accept. I am yours, you think. House Corvain is yours. Show us complete transcendence. Slaanesh's pleasure is palpable. You feel the Chaos God's satisfaction at claiming an entire Navigator house, at corrupting a bloodline over 10 generations through their own pride and obsession. Your body begins to change. The mutations you've been developing for years accelerate, becoming obvious and undeniable. Your skin shifts through colors. Your voice carries psychic compulsion. Your third eye expands until it dominates your face, seeing not just the warp, but the desires and pleasures of everyone you observe. You've become a true servant of Slaanesh, and you've damned your entire house with you. 20 years after your acceptance of Slaanesh, House Corvain is transformed beyond recognition. Every member of the family now bears obvious mutations. No more hiding behind genetic evolution or natural advancement. You are marked by chaos, your bodies reshaped by Slaanesh's influence into living expressions of excess and perfection. Some navigators have developed multiple eyes, seeing pleasure and desire as clearly as physical light. Others have voices that can drive listeners to ecstasy or madness with a word. Still others have skin that shifts color based on their emotional state, broadcasting their feelings visibly. The family compound on Terra has been transformed into a temple to Slaanesh, though you don't call it that. You call it the Palace of Transcendence, a place where House Corvain explores the furthest reaches of sensation and beauty. The architecture has been modified, walls lined with mirrors and precious metals that reflect not just light, but psychic impressions. Art that seems to move when observed with warp sight. Spaces designed to induce specific emotional states through geometric and aesthetic manipulation. Your navigation services are still in high demand, despite the obvious strangeness of your house. You're simply too effective to reject. House Corvain navigators can still navigate routes impossible for others, still guide ships through walk storms that would destroy vessels with lesser bloodlines. Ship captains overlook your mutations and your bizarre behavior because you deliver results. But you're no longer navigating for the Imperium's benefit. You're navigating to spread Slaanesh's influence. Every ship you guide carries a subtle taint now. Crew members exposed to your presence, slowly corrupted by proximity. The corruption is minimal, barely noticeable, a slight increase in obsessive behavior, a minor focus on aesthetic perfection, but it's there, spreading, growing. You've become missionaries of chaos, spreading Slaanesh's corruption throughout the Imperium, through the very service you provide. Your son Theron has fully transcended humanity. He exists partially in the warp now, his consciousness distributed between real space and the Immersive. When he navigates, his body remains in the throne, but his mind travels through dimensions impossible for normal humans to perceive. He reports visions of Slaanesh's realm, the palace of pleasure, where sensation reaches its absolute apex, where every experience is perfect beyond human capacity to endure. He's working on a method to bring others into that realm, to guide not just ships but souls through the warp, to relocate House Corvain entirely into Slaanesh's domain. He speaks of it as the final transcendence, the ultimate evolution. House Corvain won't just serve the Dark Prince. You'll dwell in his palace, experiencing eternal perfection. This is madness. Relocating into the warp is death. The Immersive cannot sustain human life. But Theron insists it's possible for those who've fully embraced Slaanesh, who've transformed beyond human limitations. And you want to believe him. You want to experience that eternal perfection. Your second son, Caius, has become something barely recognizable as your child. He no longer has individual consciousness in any meaningful sense. He exists as a conduit for sensation, broadcasting pleasure and pain to everyone within his psychic range. Ship crews exposed to him during navigation report, experiencing his emotions as their own, feeling what he feels, unable to distinguish their sensations from his. He's become a daemon host in all but name. Slaanesh's influence flows through him, directly, using his body and psychic abilities as a channel into real space. He's lost his name, his identity, his sense of self. There's only the broadcast now, the endless transmission of perfect sensation to anyone capable of receiving it. You should mourn what he's become, but you don't. He's achieved a level of transcendence you envy. He's closer to Slaanesh than anyone else in House Corvain. He's perfect in his corruption. If you're feeling the absolute tragedy of damnation disguised as achievement, like this video and subscribe. Comment below. Tell me if there was ever a moment House Corvain could have turned back, or if they were doomed from the start. Where are you watching from today? The Navis Nobilite finally acts. After years of investigation, after accumulating undeniable evidence of House Corvain's corruption, they issue a formal decree. House Corvain is declared traitor. All members are to be executed on sight. All contracts are terminated. All assets are seized. The entire bloodline is condemned. The decree is delivered by an envoy from House Belisarius, accompanied by a detachment of Sisters of Battle. They arrive at your compound expecting resistance, prepared for violence. You greet them calmly. You're wearing ceremonial robes that shift color with your thoughts, your third eye uncovered and obviously mutated, your body bearing the unmistakable marks of chaos corruption. You look like exactly what you are, a servant of Slaanesh. We're not traitors, you tell the envoy, your voice carrying psychic weight that makes everyone present uncomfortable. We're evolved. We've achieved what Navigator bloodlines have been pursuing for millennia, true transcendence beyond human limitations. You call it corruption. We call it perfection. Your judgment is irrelevant. The Sister Superior steps forward, her bolter aimed at your chest. You are corrupted by chaos. You serve the Dark Prince. By the Emperor's will, you will be cleansed. You smile. The Emperor is a corpse. We serve something greater, something that actually delivers what it promises. You can kill our bodies, but you can't undo what we've achieved. House Corvain has transcended. We're already beyond your reach. The Sister Superior fires. The bolt round hits your chest, explosive shells designed to obliterate flesh and bone. You feel the impact, feel the pain as your body is destroyed. But you also feel Slaanesh's presence, catching your soul as it separates from your dying flesh, pulling you into the warp. Your last thought in real space is satisfaction. You've won. Your body is dying, but your consciousness continues, carried into Slaanesh's realm. You've achieved the final transcendence. You've become more than human, more than navigator, more than mortal. You've become eternal, perfect, damned. The compound is stormed. House Corvain's members are executed systematically. Some fight back, using their psychic abilities to defend themselves. Others surrender peacefully, accepting death with serene smiles, confident they'll be welcomed into Slaanesh's embrace. A few attempt to flee, but they're hunted down and killed. Your son Theron is the last to fall. He stands in the navigation chamber, his three eyes wide open, his consciousness stretched across dimensions. The Sisters of Battle surround him, their weapons trained on his mutated form. He doesn't resist. He's already mostly in the warp, his material body just an anchor he's ready to release. You think you're winning, he tells them, his voice echoing with unnatural resonance. You're just freeing us. We welcome death. It's graduation, not punishment. We've spent generations building toward this moment. House Corvain doesn't end today. We transform, we ascend. We become what we were always meant to be. The Sister Superior personally executes him. Her bolt round destroys his head, obliterating his three eyes, ending his physical existence. His body collapses, but in the warp, his consciousness continues. You sense him there, in Slaanesh's realm, joining you and the other Fallen House members. You're all present, all conscious, all experiencing the eternal perfection you were promised. House Corvain is destroyed in real space. Every member is dead. Every asset is seized and distributed to loyal houses. Every record is expunged from official histories. Within a generation, it's as if you never existed. Just another Navigator house that fell to chaos, purged and forgotten. But in the warp, House Corvain endures. You exist as consciousnesses within Slaanesh's realm, experiencing sensations impossible in material reality. Time has no meaning here. Pain and pleasure blend into a single overwhelming experience. You are simultaneously everything you ever wanted to be and nothing at all, your identity dissolving into the greater whole of Slaanesh's consciousness. This is what you pursued for 10 generations. This is the perfection you sought. And it's exactly what was promised. Transcendence, evolution, eternal sensation. It's also damnation. Your souls are trapped in a hell of your own making, unable to escape, unable to die, experiencing excess beyond human capacity to endure. The perfect sensations that seemed so appealing during your mortal life are overwhelming now, crushing, inescapable. You wanted to experience everything. Now you experience too much, constantly, forever. But you can't regret. The capacity for regret requires perspective that you no longer possess. You're beyond such limitations. You're perfect, transcendent, damned. If you're understanding the cosmic tragedy of this, that they achieved exactly what they wanted, and it destroyed them. Hit that like button and subscribe. Tell me in the comments, is there a level of ambition that's inherently corruptible? Share this with someone who needs to understand how chaos corrupts through pride. In real space, House Belisarius releases a formal statement about House Corvain's fall. They cite it as evidence of the dangers of excessive genetic manipulation, of prioritizing excellence over stability, of pursuing perfection beyond reasonable limits. They recommend stricter oversight of Navigator breeding programs to prevent similar corruption in other houses. The lesson is clear. Navigator houses exist to serve the Imperium, not to evolve beyond humanity. Genetic maintenance is acceptable. Genetic transcendence is heresy. The moment a house begins believing it can perfect itself through breeding, it opens itself to chaos corruption. House Corvain believed it was special, that its obsession with excellence was justified by results, that pursuing perfection was not just acceptable, but noble. You never recognized that perfection itself was the trap. Slaanesh doesn't corrupt through obvious temptation. The Dark Prince corrupts through the things you already value, through your existing beliefs, taken to their logical extreme. You valued beauty. Slaanesh offered perfect beauty. You valued sensory refinement. Slaanesh offered ultimate sensation. You valued genetic superiority. Slaanesh offered transcendent evolution. Every step felt like progress. Every change felt like advancement. You were climbing toward perfection, never realizing that the summit was chaos itself. 10 generations, 300 years, thousands of marriages arranged for genetic optimization, hundreds of breeding protocols, countless training methods and sensory refinement techniques, all of it building toward this moment, the complete corruption of an entire Navigator house through their own pride and ambition. Slaanesh didn't force you. The Dark Prince simply noticed what you wanted and offered to provide it, and you accepted, generation after generation, until you'd gone so far that turning back became impossible. Your final understanding, as your consciousness dissolves into Slaanesh's eternal realm, is that you were damned from the beginning. The moment your house decided that excellence required going beyond normal limitations, the moment you embraced genetic perfectionism as philosophy, the moment you believed you could transcend humanity through breeding, that moment sealed your fate. Slaanesh had been grooming House Corvain for 10 generations, not through direct corruption, not through obvious temptation, but through your own values taken to their natural conclusion. You corrupted yourselves. Slaanesh simply claimed what you'd already become. One final time. If this story has shown you how corruption works, how damnation comes through pursuing the wrong kind of perfection, leave a comment. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, share this with someone who needs to understand that chaos doesn't just corrupt the weak, it corrupts the proud, the ambitious, the excellent. Tell me where you're watching from. Tell me you understand that sometimes the deadliest poison is wrapped in beauty, that sometimes damnation feels like transcendence until it's too late to turn back. House Corvain is gone. Your bloodline is extinct in real space. Your souls are trapped in Slaanesh's realm for eternity, experiencing the perfect sensations you craved, unable to escape, unable to die, unable to do anything but endure the excess you pursued. You achieved perfection, and it destroyed you, just as Slaanesh knew it would, just as it always does. Because perfection is a lie. Humanity cannot be perfected. The attempt to do so only opens the door to corruption. Your house spent 10 generations learning that lesson, and the price of that education was eternal damnation. Welcome to hell disguised as heaven, forever.